Hello everyone, this is the second part of the room. First, I think I will build some kind of a sofa at this corner, and maybe I will build a canopy over the reception desk, and maybe play with the back wall a little bit, and of course eventually close up with a roof. So let's look at this corner and build a sofa. So the tool that I'm going to use is one reel sweep. I'm going to first create a profile of the sofa, let it sweep along a reel. I think I'm going to use maybe the right view to draw, and if it doesn't work, I will change to a different view. So before I draw the whole sofa, I would first decide roughly the size. So the size would be 700 by 800. So the depth is 700 and the height is 800 roughly. So first I draw a polyline of 420 in terms of a height. Press Shift. And then I will draw a depth of 600. Again, press Shift. And I'm just going to use perpendicular. So as you can see, this shape right here is kind of the profile of the sofa. So eventually how the profile looks like is going to be your design. So I will check my near snap and use any of the point, because at this point is more about roughly a design than the detail. I think where you put the control point actually matters a lot, because you do have to have two at the corner in order for it to turn. Let's set at a better display mode. So if you wanted this to come out a little bit, you could do. So I finished the profile. I'll delete all these lines. And I want to let this profile to follow a reel. So I would go to my other view and maybe just simply draw in a polyline. I also wanted maybe just, a little bit of distance from the wall. So I think I did a polyline. And maybe height. I need to see where the polyline is. Okay, so the curve, okay, the polyline is snapped to the top. So let's move it down to the bottom. So I have a polyline there, and I have a profile which I can move and maybe snap to the end of the polyline. And there are a lot of atoms that I really don't need, and maybe it's disturbing my view, so I'm just going to hide them. And I think I need to move this upwards. Select object to move, press enter. I need to move this one upwards. So let's do a one reel sweep. Select the tool, sweep one reel. Select the reel, select the cross section, press enter and press, and just say OK. So this is a sofa, but it's hollow on either side. So I need to enclose the ends. So what I do is I will type in cap, C-A-P, with the object selected. it should cap the end. So now we can unhide all of them and just take a look. Looks like a part of the sofa went into the wall. So with the sofa selected, or from the top view, I could just move without snapping, because there's always should be a distance between furniture and the wall. There's no need to perfectly line them up. And how about the bottom? Sometimes it's possible the sofa is floating in the air, so check. Okay, the bottom is just a little below our floor. If you like, you could move. If you like, you could also perfectly in line, which then will take a little bit more effort, but it's possible to achieve. However, it really doesn't matter for most of the illustration purpose. In case I do wanted this sofa to sit perfectly on the surface, I would probably select a point which is near, in this case, and just use the perpendicular snapping will do. However, in this case, it moved out. So it's now perfectly sitting on the floor, but it got moved out from the room. So you have to kind of move the sofa in as you wish. You could move a little bit. So as you can see, snapping sometimes will snap only one direction correctly, but then will mess around with other directions. So if you do want to snap something perfect, you have to find a point somewhere that's perfectly snapping to another point. So we're good for the sofa, and I'm going to move on to design a very simple canopy using, or maybe the other, maybe this view, right? Sometimes it's better to use a wireframe display so that you can see through. So I designed some kind of curvy line like this and to play a little bit. I'm just going to use this one as a profile to do a one real sweep. But if you like, you can give a thickness to it, so you can actually offset and of course change the distance of offset. It was 240 for the wall thickness, so now maybe I will offset as 40. Select curve and the direction to offset, and of course enclose the end. It's probably also better to join the curve at this point, so it becomes one enclosed shape. So this shape is right here. So maybe I would let this go one real sweep. So I'm going to do a one real sweep. Maybe what I want to do is to use a line that's already in there. This is one of the line that I did with a contour. So maybe I just use this line and do a one real sweep. So where exactly is this line? This line is actually down below. I will make a copy and bring it up. So I have a line somewhere at the ceiling height, and then I will just do a one real sweep. Select the one real sweep, select the real, select maybe just one of the cross section to start with. Okay, it looks like you have to select individual cross sections, then press enter and say okay. And this is really messy here. It really did not work, so I have to redo it. I'm going to move this line, end of this line to the beginning of the curve and do it again. So do a one row sweep. Okay, do it again. Do a one row sweep. Select the reel and select the cross section. Press enter and just say okay. And this time it worked, sort of worked okay, but at some point it got really a weird shape because I think the curve, this curve right here is a little bit too sharp for the profile to turn around and be nice. So maybe I need to work on the shape. I may not want to do it in perspective view. And I also realized that there are points that's kind of making the line a little bit jagged. So maybe I will make a shape like this. So that's a revised shape. So I will do a one reel sweep again. Select the reel, select the cross section, press enter, and press enter, and just say okay. So this time it sort of worked. So this is a very interesting canopy design. And let's look at top. It is a little bit too far to one of the end. So at this moment I'm going to just maybe do a copy of it instead of doing more of the one reel sweep. I could do a copy and another copy. So let's look at from a different view. I will delete the profile and I will start to play with the copy. And let's look at it. And maybe hide the wall. This seemed to be interesting. And as you wish, you could also cap so that they became solid. So I kept all of them. So I will stop here. Of course, this is, in terms of the design, this is really not that good a design. But it played a lot with the tool, and at some point it didn't work. But that's a nice try. And it's always important to fix a problem. So I will unhide and maybe just do one more thing about the wall and then enclose the room with a roof. So what I want to do is to maybe play with the background a little bit. So I'm going to draw a surface. I think it would be very difficult to draw a rectangular surface using the wrong view. So I think I'm going to switch to the elevation view and just use the surface tool from corner to corner and draw a surface. And where this surface is actually here. Okay, let's move it out and just look at the surface. So I'm going to play with it and using rebuild. As you can see, it started with U and V as 2. So which means there's only 2 control points on either side. And it's a straight surface, there's no curviness, so that's why the degree is 1. So maybe I can rebuild and make a design out of it. So I'm changing the U and V both to 10, and I'm changing the degree to 3. So I can eventually, with this change, I'll be able to have a curvy surface. So there are 2 of them. Move 1 away. So this is a new surface. So let's turn on the control point. There's so many of them. And maybe play with the control point a little bit and just select a few. It really doesn't matter which one. I just randomly select a few control point out of it. And I'm going to see a different view, my top view. I'm going to move the control point out a little bit, all of them that I selected, and press escape to come out from the control point level. So let's look at this surface. This surface is kind of interesting. Of course, you can play with the surface in many different ways. This almost looks like a water because it's wavy. So let's say I'm happy with the surface and I want to use this surface for the back wall. I'm going to snap from corner, from end to end. So this surface replaced the original surface and becomes some kind of a design feature for the wall. At this moment, as you can see, the walls altogether, they are solid because we built them using extrusion and it is solid. However, this surface right here is really not part of the wall. So if I want to change and use this as a part of the wall and still make it solid, I have to do a few tricks. So first I hide this. So make sure this is still solid. And maybe I will move this one away because it's easier to move this away, or maybe make a copy of it so that I don't have to deal with all the furniture there. So let me unhide because I already have this. Okay, this is as a surface. So the reason I made it a copy is because the original space is rather sophisticated and has a lot of detail to it, so I don't want to deal with all of them. I just make a copy. And once I'm done, I'm going to delete the original one and replace with my copy. So here I'm going to explode. Again, I'm going to hide the VV surface and delete the surface behind and then unhide. So with all of this, I can select all of them because it's so much easier to select them and then join them. So once you join them, they become one element. So the surface behind is no longer there because I deleted. So I'm just going to bring this one back to its original place, and then I will try to delete the other one. Okay, snap to the corner, and I'll hide this one and delete this one, and then unhide. So that's pretty much it. The only thing that's left is to draw a top surface, which I can use the rectangular surface tool, and then just enclose it with a surface. So of course, if you look at it from inside, you actually already have a room. But remember, this is a surface and this is a surface. They're not solid, and most of the rest are solid. I'm going to simply give a thickness to both of the surface. So I would extrude because they are surface, they're not curving lines. So I have to go to solid and extrude surface straight, and maybe I select both of them, and I'm just going to extrude using my front view. Press enter, and I give them a thickness, let's say 100. That sort of represents the thickness of the slab. But once you type in 100, it actually goes up. So if you wanted to extrude to below, you actually have to type in -100. But this is good enough. I'm just going to use this tool and move them. So this is the part 2 of the room.